What is up guys, I'm Spear and today we're starting a new series on this channel called REtry, where we get the latest and greatest rack extensions from the Propellerhead store, we pull them up in our rack and then we give them a good and proper whirl. Starting us off is the Disperser from kiloHearts. It's a powerful yet easy to use transient shaping tool which can also be abused for some crazy sound design. So without further ado, let's get into it. When looking at the Disperser, it's not that easy to see what it really does. There's a frequency slider, but we're not actually cutting any frequencies. Instead, we can use this slider to select those frequencies of the input signal that we want to delay by just a little bit. This delay is so short that we're actually just changing up the phase of a part of the input signal, resulting in a changed overall waveform on the output. On the Disperser, we have three key elements to control this effect. There's the amount knob, which lets us choose how long the delay actually is. Then there's the frequency slider, which lets us determine which part of the frequency spectrum gets delayed and which passes through. And then there's the pinch knob, which lets us change the affected frequency range from a shelf to a narrow band. When we flip the rack around, we can find CV inputs for all of the control elements, so amount, frequency and pinch, as well as audio inputs and outputs. But enough talking, let's take a listen to what the Disperser actually sounds like. And as usual, I have a quick example prepared. So what's the Disperser actually adding to this little loop? Well, let's bypass each of the Disperser units in this rack and take another listen. As you might have heard, the transients sound a lot less clean in this version, and the Disperser really does a lot to take care of those dirty transients. Now let's take a listen to what the Disperser can do to each of our elements individually, starting with the kick drum. And on the kick drum, the Disperser is actually the most apparent, simply because the kick drum has quite a big transient, and using the Disperser, we can choose which frequencies we want to keep in our transient and which frequencies we want to delay so they come in later. Let's make a quick A/B comparison to hear what the Disperser can do for our kick drums. The Disperser will be bypassed for the first four. As you've heard, the Disperser really adds a lot of punchiness to the kick drum, but the cool part is it doesn't make it louder. In fact, our kick peaks lower with the Disperser activated, because in the transient, not all of the frequencies are present yet, as the lows are delayed. This is a really cool thing because we have a lot more headroom for our mix and master and a punchier kick drum, so it's a win-win. Next up, let's take a listen to what the Disperser can do to an element that doesn't necessarily have a transient, like a sawtooth wave. Now let's turn the Disperser on. It's a bit more subtle here, but you can definitely hear a difference. While with the Disperser on bypass we had a pretty boring sawtooth wave, turning it on and delaying the lower part of the sawtooth wave leaves us with a new waveform that isn't so overused as the simple sawtooth. And you can really play with the frequency and the pinch and the amount to create different waveforms from a simple sawtooth wave. Our final element in this loop is this perk-like synth playing a triplet melody. And as you've probably heard, the transient on this one is rather nasty. It's just this pretty loud click that can get pretty annoying. Using the Disperser, we can filter this click, this transient, so only the highest frequencies are present in it and the lower frequencies come in later. We also create a little bit of a resonant peak right here by bringing up the pinch and having the frequency at about 680 Hz, which make the whole thing sound a bit cooler in my opinion. Once again on bypassed. And now with the dispersion. Alright, I guess you get the idea, and I hope you got a better idea of whether or not the Disperser is worth the money for you and your productions. But for me, I'm definitely gonna get this device because it's a very handy tool to deal with transient on drums or perks, And it can also be used in some very crazy way in sound design, which is right up my alley. So that's that. I hope you enjoy this new kind of format, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one of whatever you're having.